Hi there, my name is Brent van Rensburg. I'm the co-founder of the Zip Zap Circus School in Cape Town, South Africa, which my wife and I started 32 years ago. And we today have brought our first professional touring show to Minneapolis. The show is called Moya, and it's based on the life story of one of the kids that grew up at the Zip Zap organization.
Hi there, I'm Gianna from Family Fun Twin Cities, and this is the Let's Go Do Fun Stuff show. Minneapolis, and Children's Theatre in particular, is excited to host the world premiere of the international show Moya by Zip Zap Circus of Cape Town, South Africa. For 7 weeks, Children's Theatre UnitedHealth Group Stage will be transformed into the streets of Cape Town, but circus style. I was invited to sit down with Brent van Rensburg, who is co-founder with his wife and the COO of Zip Zap Circus. We had a delightful conversation about the work that Zip Zap is doing and what you can expect when you see Moya.
Can you give us the backstory of how you and your wife started Zip Zap?
Sure. So I was touring the world as a flying trapeze artist in circuses all over Europe and America, and had been away from my hometown for many, many years. And in 1992, I said to my girlfriend at the time, I said, we were performing in her hometown of Paris on a traditional circus. And I said, so come, let's go to Cape Town. I'll show you my hometown for 6 weeks. And we went and we stayed 32 years. So it was not planned. Zip Zap was not planned. It was very organic. But I really felt that I thought if we could use circus as a tool to bridge gaps between children who wouldn't normally have the opportunity to meet, from rich and poor, black and white. And the idea was to really be a part of the Nelson Mandela's dream of a new South Africa, and to become part of the Rainbow Nation. And so it started out really small, but I would say over 32 years, the mission has never changed. We're still bridging gaps, and we're still using circus as the tool. The only difference is back then we started with 15 children, and now we have over 3,000 every year coming through our doors. We have 9 programs, and all of the programs are free of charge. Nobody pays. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. So this concept of bridging gaps has been working. We've toured many, many times with students. We've done 38 international tours, but always with the students. And a few years ago, we decided we want to create our own professional touring show so that there's really a platform for the kids who graduate to work on a touring show and give them more opportunities. And here we are in Minneapolis at the beginning of our world tour. We've got contracts up until next year. We're actually going to end up in April in New York at the New Victory Theatre. So we're super excited and happy to start out here. It's an awesome theatre. The people, the staff have been incredible. We're really spoiled here. So yeah, and the show is quite special. It really is. I think we've achieved the vision we had for the show, to tell the Zip Zap story.
Zip Zap reminds me a little of Circus Juventus here in St. Paul, but it has its own story. Zip Zap is a vibrant, uniquely South African social and professional circus, and everything they do is centered around creating a uniquely South African circus and ultimately bringing it to the world.
So we have 5 outreach programs, which means that we work in the townships, or ghettos. We work with youth at risk. So obviously some of our performers come from our Second Chance program, which is the youth at risk program. Some from the township program, others from our youth programs, which is like sort of beginners, intermediates, advanced. But there's a program called Dare to Dream, where 5 of the young people come from, which is a 4-year training program. Just because you're in an outreach program doesn't mean you can't become a performer on the world stage.
Right.
You can make it if you're given the opportunity. And that's what Zip Zap does. We afford opportunities to children who can't afford horse riding or ballet or
Right.
But it's very much also, it's not for every kid, It's hard work, it's discipline, it hurts, So the kids are there, they're there because they want to be there, not because they're paying to go there.
We will hear a little bit later about life in South Africa, But I thought we would start by learning what Moya, the show, is about.
At Family Fun Twin Cities, we're all about things to do with the family. So it sounds like your show is perfect.
We are telling a story, but the story actually that we're telling is of how one child a long time ago was living on the streets of Cape Town, and he found his way to the circus group and got himself involved there and got accepted, even though he was a street kid. And he found this crazy circus family that he became a part of. And he grew up in the circus family and became one of the stars of the show. And so the lead character in our show is that kid.
Oh.
It's not an actor playing a role. It's the kid who grew up on the streets of Cape Town, who found his way to Zip Zap.
Oh, that's
and
so cool.
Now he's on the world stage. So he's telling his life story, but using circus as the medium. And yes, there is a lot of circus and skills and acts in the show, but he's one of many kids who have the same story back home. And anyway, so yeah, we're telling a particular kid's story, but it could be any of the kids from Zip Zap. And I do believe it is very much a universal story at the same time, because it is about mixing races and cultures. It is about acceptance and not division. So, yeah.
So, okay, so Moya was one of your students?
No, Moya, the word Moya is Xhosa or Zulu for spirit.
Okay.
It means spirit. It's the name of the show, Spirit.
Okay.
And I think we chose the name Moya because of the spirit of our young performers. And the Zip Zap over all the years is kind of known for being a little bit crazy and high-spirited in our shows. So we thought it was appropriate to give it a name that really says what we do.
Speaking of languages, I think it's time to learn about South Africa. I want to give a trigger warning because we do talk about racism and apartheid. I believe we deal with these subjects delicately, but you know what's best for your family.
I just thought it would be interesting to talk about what it was like to grow up in South Africa.
Well, being 63 years old, obviously I grew up in the apartheid, although I grew up in the poorer part of town, and not to a very privileged family. And so very difficult to explain, but I went to a circus school as a young kid in what was then called the poor white neighborhoods.
Okay.
And so we were already mixing back in the late 60s, early 70s. And we weren't really we didn't really feel, although obviously on the trains and the buses there was separation. And I left South Africa when I was 16 to become a professional trapeze artist. I left the country, I dropped out of school. And to be really honest with you, I never grew up in a racist community or family, where that was obviously predominant in South Africa, the whole racism apartheid thing. But personally, my mother was not, my grandmother wasn't, and in our circus school, like I said, we were already mixing. So, and since Nelson Mandela came out of prison, I mean, he poured his heart and soul into this rainbow nation. And it doesn't come without its ups and downs, but it's a country where a lot of people and NGOs are really pulling together to make that vision a reality, and we are just one of those NGOs that are trying to do the same.
So NGO means non-government organization. It's kind of like our nonprofits here, basically.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, we're a nonprofit organization.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So how intermingled are the different languages in South Africa?
Well, we had up until very recently 11 official languages, where they've just sign language has just become our 12th official language. But the main spoken languages, I would say the mostly spoken is English, and Xhosa and Zulu are the three predominant languages. And the official political language, if you like, or the parliamentary language is English as a common language. But yeah, so it's an interesting country because there are lots of different cultures and tribes, very, very mixed, and but it works. You know, we all really trying to respect each other's cultures and beliefs. And
I wanted to know if Brent had a favorite part of the show, and so I asked about the music and what about the show makes his heart sing.
There's a score that is
Yes.
underneath it all? Is that a score that's like written for your show?
Yep. So a friend of ours was a member of a very famous pop group in South Africa, or rock group. They were called Freshly Ground, and we've known him for many years. And in fact, they played in 2010 the World Cup soccer World Cup. They played with Shakira, the Waka Waka song, if anybody remembers that. And he wrote the entire score for us, and the music's great. It's great. So he's actually here with us. The guy who wrote his name is Josh Hawkes, and Cape Town is a hub for musicians, and all our musician friends came to the party, and they're all different singers, and musos helped put it together. So it's a big collaboration between the musicians and the Circus of Cape Town.
Yeah, it sounds like it's South Africa and Cape Town is being very well represented.
I think so. I think it's definitely, we're proudly South African, proudly Cape Townian. I don't know if I can pick one. I always love it when at the end of the finale, when that last note of music and that last movement happens, and it's, that finish is so powerful and so strong, but I like being taken through an emotional journey in a show. So it's up and down and sad and happy and excited and scared. And so I like I can't pick one moment for me, the moment is the last moment of the show when they're all standing together and their hands on each other's shoulders. But I don't want to give it away, but that moment of unity. I'm so happy that part of our history is over. There's obviously still challenges in South Africa, but I think it was a real dark part of our history, the whole apartheid thing. Obviously, we never supported that system, but we lived in it, and absolutely. I think that it's a universal story: racism and prejudice and division. It is a universal story, and which is why when we made Moya, we thought, well, we're taking our story with our culture, with our music, but we're telling a universal story about acceptance, and the audience, one thing they will understand, even 100% for sure, they'll understand inclusion and acceptance when they see Moya, because these young performers come from very different backgrounds, but on stage you can see the love they have for each other, and that the fact that they do live together like brothers and sisters. And for me, that's the true success of Zip Zap, is we never taught them to live together and accept each other. That happened organically. We gave them circus as a tool, and that whole bonding for the trust, catching each other, holding each other on the trapeze, that kind of the circus took care of.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I really believe that the true success is how they've bonded, and then the good show is just
the good show.
Yeah, it's just a good show, cherry on the cake.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, I loved the circus. Like I said, I started in 1971 as a 10-and-a-half-year-old kid on the flying trapeze. I fell in love with it. I told my mom when I was 13, as soon as I get the opportunity, I'm dropping out of school, I'm going to become a trapeze artist. 2 years later, I came to her and said, I'm leaving school. So, yes, I loved it all these years. I am not a performer anymore, but I'm still in the circus. So yeah, of course, I love it, and I live it. Well, I just really would like to say, I think that people should come and watch the show. I promise you won't leave disappointed.
You know what? Children's theater has a really good record of not letting you leave disappointed. So the fact that they wanted you, that's a good sign.
Good enough for me.
Yep, exactly. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us,
Pleasure.
Family Fun Twin Cities. We have had a really good time getting to know you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Okay.
Moya is playing on the United Group Stage at Children's Theatre Company until October 20th, 2024. Our sweet friend Miss P, who is for loved the show and couldn't stop talking about it. Her favorite was the Silks. She said when she watched that, she literally gasped. And her dad confirmed it. He said it was so fun to watch her take it all in. Thank you so much, Brent, for taking the time to chat with us about Moya and the circus and life in South Africa. And now it's your turn to go do fun stuff.
Well, is there anything that I haven't exactly talked about that you want to make sure? There's a dog. R is the wrong word. Can you give me a little backstory about how you and your wife started Zip Zap Zoop?
Hey, see you.
Perfect. Okay.
Oh,